Actually, let me just reference on the camera where we're at.
We were about to get into the story.
I think you asked me how old I was.
I asked you how old you was during the time of the story that you were telling.
Yeah.
What negative habits I needed to let go of. I had to figure
Yeah, you have to figure out the negative habits you have to let go of.
out. Yeah, and that was it. That was like the last of a string of nominator. So, like, what do I need to change within myself in order for
It's perfect. Little did I know my 22nd year was my brand new story.
Alright, and
We are back with part 2 with Miss Charese. So as we continue on our story, please take us right from where we left off at.
Yeah, so I realized that after a string of heartbreaks that I had, I was a common denominator, and I had to really take that time to self-reflect and decide on if I liked myself or not, really. And, I had always dealt with insecurities and self-esteem and a lot of things that the youth deals with, or even like people just deal with in general.
Absolutely.
But at this point, with my personality, I as you could tell, I come on pretty strong. Like, I'm very big, and that's not always a fit for people.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not always a fit when it comes to your working relationships, your casual relationships, your close friendships, like anything like that. Is at the end of the day, if your personality doesn't have a right fit in that place, then you have to excuse yourself.
Yes.
And not blame yourself for that either. So what happened around that time is I was at, I don't remember if I had left the job or not, but basically I had taken a hiatus from the restaurants that had, I started working in the restaurants from high school. It put me through college. After college, I was paying my rent with it. And, I had to take a break because I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
And I got this opportunity to perform in Othello the Panther. So, I saved up a few months and took my time, and I was, I was acting. I was on the theater scene.
Yeah.
And then, I went through a heartbreak. I realized that acting wasn't as fulfilling as it had been before. And I noticed that, I now working on professional productions, I learned all the other hats you had to put on.
Yes.
It was us, and it was Nico, and maybe we had, someone else there. Maybe. But for the most part, I'm just like, all right, grassroots is what it's going to be. And then I see assistant directors and stage managers and production assistants and everybody else. And then I'm just like, wow, there's, a lot of other roles that keep this play, to be the best that it could be.
Indeed.
So I bring up the heartbreak because it was also in the same month that I didn't get a job that I thought I was going to get. And at that time, I was unemployed. I wasn't on unemployment because I didn't know that much about it at the time. So, the stakes were really high, and I don't have as much confidence to go out and be the best I can be because I'm heartbroken at home. So, and then I lose my cousin. So my cousin, Barbara, was an exceptional writer and model and person and just like an amazing spirit to be around. And I remember meeting her, apparently we met when I was a child because I saw this picture. I don't remember it, but I re-met her as an adult. And I must have been maybe 20, 21 at the time. So when 22 came around, another one of my cousins had, we were texting, and then she was like, Barbara passed. And I'm just like, wait, what? And then, immediately we get on the call because it was just, it was a lot. So the thing about Barbara is she passed of a heart attack on the way to her flight because she was going to write another book, and when she writes her books, she goes out of the country and asks people not to contact her so she could focus on it. Her sister finds her in the apartment when she was supposed to come and water the plants, and then the rest of the family finds out. I bring up Barbara because shortly after she died, I found my gift of words, and she had always said that it's great that you want to act and that you want to be out and perform, but you have to write your own story.
Yeah.
So, that had always kind of like been in the back of my mind, especially when I hear about, in the film industry, you have actors crossing over to be like directors for a couple of episodes or writers for a couple of episodes. And for me, that just kind of clicked everything. I never really thought of myself as a stage manager, as a director, as assistant director, as a writer until after Barbara passed. And then it just, like, I'm one of those people that, like, when people pass on, they send me the signs.
Yeah.
And her sign came a few months later, but the reason why I say that is because I was moving out of Brooklyn at the time, and I remember I had just repainted my room, and I was looking at all the paint on my hands, and the line was, my hands are tainted in the assurance of my departure. And I just, like, for whatever reason, that line just kind of popped up into my head, and I built a poem around it. And then I started to write more of my emotions and my hurt into my poetry.
Yeah.
I was also practicing yoga, which is something I'm still pursuing today. And I took a step back from the acting world because, funny enough, Devontae, who was also in our group, he took me to this open mic in Harlem.
Okay.
Randomly one day after an activism group that we were meeting with.
Yeah.
And I got up, I read some of like my poetry, and they liked me, and I kept on coming back, and the rest is history.
Well, the ironic thing about you finding your voice and about you writing for other people, you writing for yourself, you go up on stage and saying your own poetry is the words, is actually speaking it. For those that don't know you, they might have not known that when you were younger, you didn't necessarily have a problem with articulating yourself, but there was a stuttering issue.
Oh,
So now to see you as an adult, as a grown woman, and to see you be able to use your words, as not saying that it held you back before, but I remember being in the stage, you weren't able to necessarily wrap your mouth around the words to be able to say it the way that you would have liked. You can see it in your body, but you just weren't there yet. So all these years later, to see you now as a writer, as a poet, to writing for other people, expressing your own words and eloquently, as articulate as you are, is just another one of those things that just kind of just come full circle. So
yeah. Thank you for that, because I didn't realize how much I had to work on my articulation until some of the no's started coming from the auditions. And that's another thing that Nico had always emphasized with me in particular, is that I had to work on my articulation because it's not coming across as clear. And like I did stutter, and to be honest, that's something that I hadn't really noticed as much as me speaking clear. So I think poetry kind of helped as well. Like acting definitely helped because like these are the words, everyone knows what it's supposed to be, and if it doesn't sound like it, then you have a reference. But poetry, like no one's seen my poems.
It's all you.
Exactly. So taking my poetry seriously really started with me loving it. So I grew up as an actor. And I got an idea of, like the fourth wall and like all the other things that go into your performance. So, me bringing this into my poetry, it just amplified,
amplified
my performance.
Indeed.
So the spot in Harlem that we went to, it actually closed and reopened as something else. But Peter Rainmaker is he was the host. And that had invited me there that night, and really invited me on stage after Devontae took me, and you know, he was very like encouraging, you know, which is awesome because I admire his work.
Yeah.
And to have someone so talented nurture the talent in you, it's activating.
Yes.
You know, so for instance, we have Tristan and Estefania and even Kat, along with Rainmaker, like they were a group that and Darren Arthur, they were a group that kind of was just up there every week, like spitting bars after bars after bars after bars, and like all of us are Earth signs. You know what I mean? So like I'm a Capricorn, and then like two of the guys were Virgos, and then one of the girls and one of the guys were Taurus. So like the six of us were just kind of like, oh, this is kind of cool, you know. And so ultimately, you know, things happen. You know, people go to different locations and everything like that. So I took a lot of time off of poetry and just kind of focused on like work.
Yeah.
So like as I mentioned, I'm a Capricorn, so like work, stability, like, you know, is very important. You know, is more so like distracting in a sense as well, because it kind of keeps you away from your self-care. Like we're easily workaholics, but when it comes to like, you know, actually like take a day and have an afternoon for yourself, it's just like, what? Like I do that by making money. You know? So to be able to sit back and really like enjoy life I hadn't gotten there yet. You know, so I was working at a bakery early mornings. I was very stressed out because the work environment wasn't healthy.
Yeah, it wasn't,
you know,
conducive to what you were trying to ultimately do.
Right. And then I went to work at a hospital.
Okay.
And you know,
At what age are you at? Or what age and where are you living at when you go work at the hospital?
Back in the Bronx, and this was I think about 24. I think I turned 25 while I was working at the hospital.
Okay.
So I'm at the hospital, and you know, I have this I'm writing like my poems. I'm starting off, even though I'm not performing as much, I still have some writing and people at the hospital that support me. So it was cool doing that, but you know, it started to kill me inside because I'm seeing so many people that I can't help. You know, as I said, I love people and I want to help make them the best. So when, you know, I take breakfast orders the night before and show up for breakfast and my patient has passed, then that's tough.
Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately, you know, we didn't have that much of a work culture at the hospital where you take the proper time to process all of that.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm one of those empaths that, you know, see everything and kind of just like bring it and kind of like, you know, wear it. Sometimes it's bad, sometimes it helps.
Yeah.
But it hurt me. I'd say it started killing me inside because it just like that's the loss of life.
Yeah.
You know, and I connect so much to life. So ultimately, I did about a year and a half at the hospital before I decided that I can't. Again, this isn't a healthy environment for me.
Yeah.
It worked for many people, so much so that they can retire from it. But for me and what I want to do, it wasn't a fit.
More detrimental.
Right.
Yeah.
So I went on to work with the leadership program. And that's when I learned a lot about the New York City Department of Education.
Oh,
What a big entity.
Yeah, I bet you learned a lot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, for the first time, I was seeing a lot of people who were younger than me going through experiences that I couldn't even fathom.
Wow.
You know, and I definitely learned a lot. I definitely made a lot of mistakes, and I made a lot of good friends as well along the way. So I shouldn't say a lot too, which to me is a lot.
More than one. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, you got a couple of friends, so that's
Yeah. So with all that said, I was working full time, and then I had to.
And where are you living at during this time?
That I was in the Bronx, and then I moved up to Connecticut.
Okay.
So, I moved up to Connecticut. I had a few contacts up there. I have some family members up there, and I knew I just needed to get out of the city.
Okay.
I knew that riding the subway for as long as I was riding it every single day wasn't the only option. I knew that I shouldn't have to lug so many things with me as a commuter if I didn't need to. And I also knew that having so many people in a dense area creates new problems, especially if that mentality and that the energetic level is tainted with negative emotions and intentions and experiences and just kind of trauma that just kind of gets locked in after a while. So, I had to do what was best for my mental health, and I decided to move out to Connecticut. It was very quick. I had a colleague recommend to me, come out to Connecticut, even if you're not ready to go that far out. If you go to Stanford, it's right there. You hop on the train, you'll get your car, So that's what I did.
So you went to Stanford first?
Yes. So I was in Stanford. I was commuting for a little while, but it was
takes its toll after a while too?
Yes. I was spending more in monthly commuter passes than I would have on my own car. And then when I realized that, I got my own car.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, and it brings a freedom. It brings a different type of knowledge. It brings, in some cases, another asset. If you're using your car like that,
Indeed.
then and it just helps. It helped a lot. So ultimately, I moved up to Bridgeport to be a little bit closer with some colleagues I was working with, and when that project.
So get away from the city.
Yeah. So I definitely I still have family and friends there. So I just didn't need to be immersed there 24/7.
Yeah.
Because I can come out like a little bit further and be around the nature that makes my soul happy.
Okay, that's very important.
Yeah. Yeah, I could be closer to the water. That again makes my soul happy without having to, take a bus for 25 minutes or pay $10 for parking or something like that.
So at this point, you move from Stanford to Bridgeport. You left the city. You're starting to become. It sounds like you're becoming more of a whole person. You're starting to figure out aspects of yourself that you have not discovered before. So, at what point, where does Under 25 start? Where does the work for this start? Because I know it started without you realizing that you're going to write a poetry book called Under 25. So,
100%.
When did this start?
This started in 2014. As I mentioned before, when that first line. A few months later. Okay. Yeah. So I want to say that breakup happened in the spring, and I really started honing in my skills in the fall. So I was writing in this notebook that I always took with me, and then honestly, I think it was the influence of seeing all these other poets come, and then I'm like, oh, okay, so I think that's a standard. If you take poetry seriously, then you should have a book, because that poetry is going to touch other people.
Indeed.
And so I started writing. I started the Word document 2 years later in 2016.
Okay.
And from 2016 all the way up to about 2019, for about 3 years, it was shelved. I would take that down, and I would work on it a little more, and then I would shelve it. Because I was also working with other projects. So one of my good friends, Janelle Stein, she has a theater company. Nice. And she also branched off and did some film. Sorry. So I was working with her as like a a stage manager with like the theater projects that she had, and you know, I had my hand in writing and directing and producing when it came to the film. But you know, after a while, you have to honor the stories you have within yourself.
Indeed, yes.
You know, you know, I think that's one of the beauties of working with your friends, because you know, it was a really hard decision, because you know, I if I give you my word, I want to stay behind it. But at the same time, I feel attuned with what makes me happy.
Yes.
And
yes.
after a few years, I realized that I need to prioritize my happiness.
Yeah, that's what it seems like this is coming to. It seems like, you know, I mean, it happens, well, not with everybody, but in your specific narrative that we're focusing on, you are at this point where you are doing things that are making you happy, but you are putting yourself first and putting your happiness as a priority, which in turn reflects in your art, which makes your art better. So
yeah.
There goes your story, kids.
Yeah, yes. So working with Janelle, you know, we had to come to that understanding that I needed to break away
to do your thing.
Yeah. So I immersed myself in finishing this Word document and developing it in InDesign, because I knew I wanted illustrations in my book. I also knew that I wanted it to be hardcover. I wanted it to be a certain size, you know, and there's...
So before you even finish, you kind of have the specifics of the hardcover, the design. Okay.
Yeah. I know I'm clumsy, and I know that I there's a lot of things that go into my bag and come out in a different way. So I know that I needed hardcover, absolutely. And I just like visuals.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
So my friend.
You visualize it before you put it into 3D reality. So.
Yeah. So one of my good friends that I met, I think we met after college, through his high school friend, who was my college friend. So, you know, no, I think it was December before our last year. So, you know, all of us are in Brooklyn and we're chilling. I'm like, oh, hey, Brian, hey, CC, how you doing? You know, we meet. And then I realized from there, I'm just like, oh, you're an entrepreneur like me. You know what I mean? Like, you trail your own path.
Right.
You know, and that kind of strengthened our friendship.
Okay.
You know, so so I went up to visit Brian in Detroit in 2016 as well, and you know, we recorded my first EP. You know, so I had some poems that were already written, but you know, he's such that creative type of like mastermind that like if you're in his space, you have prompts. You have to be creative. So I wrote two new poems. I wrote one new poem. We recorded that. I wrote another new poem when I got home, and then we got that on the EP as well. So and he had he brought in some samples and he produced it, and he brought everything together, and I'm like, wow, that's great. So you know, kind of getting back, fast forward maybe like a year or two later, I tell him, okay, you know, I'm ready for the book. Would you do me the honors of making a thing for me?
Nice.
A cover for you, right? And you know, he's my friend, so like I'm not gonna ask for free. You know, I support his art because I see all the supplies and all the time and the intellect that goes into it. So we worked on a few different images. I told him I love sunsets and I love like fields and like stuff like that. So he had one thing. You know, and it was kind of cool. And then he had another thing. I'm like, okay, this is great. And then I remember looking through some of the other options, and then I saw this one. And then I was like, wait, why didn't I go with that? Oh, hey, Brian, I'm so sorry. Last minute, it's this one. This one we're doing. So,
you sing on the other end, just like.
So he made me my cover. He made me my back cover. He made me my spine. and cool, I have the outside of the book. Now I just need to make sure that the inside is like good.
Yes, yes.
So I had at the time, I think I had one of my friend's birthdays was coming up, and I got her a collection of Maya Angelou poems.
Okay.
And I remember I was, kind of skimming through the poem, and I saw that she had different parts. I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, because like I didn't really want to spend so much on like, a hardcover book if it's just going to be like, oh, a small collection of poems. Like, I can actually put everything together and just separate it in parts. So I decided that the parts were going to be one, the art of feminine, because femininity is subjective in my opinion. But there's a certain art that attracts people to it.
Okay.
Number 2 is going to be revolve, because I know if you think about just full circle, or if you think about thoughts revolving around something, or stuck around something, or just take off the R and just evolve. That's a very strong verb, and I had decided that the first part was just going to be a little about me coming into myself as a woman, what I thought that meant at the time, and how I kind of like carried myself, the art I had within my own aura and my own presence, and then it kind of like hits rock bottom, where I just I'm at this place where I feel broken. I'm not entirely sure who I am, and I had to define that for myself. And then next was the dignify, which is kind of that third chapter, and coming into a sense of enlightenment and understanding that it's more than me as an individual in this lifetime. It's a legacy, and it's a higher power, and it's a spiritual sense. I believe there's a reason why I get these signs from family members that pass by, and it's intuitive. So going into that intuitiveness, or going into that dignified presence you have, not only within yourself, or within your dreams, or within your love, but also in like just a general type of like shared experience.
Yes. I mean, this book had to be written in parts because you were 3 different people during the process of this, so it made sense that it had to be
all before the age of 25.
All before the age of 25, and that just brings things right full circle. So I'm assuming that you are 26 right now.
No.
You're still 25.
No. I'm older than those.
Oh, okay.
I'm not 30 yet, though.
You threw me for a loop for a second. I was like,
Yeah.
wait, hold on. Did I not have the narrative right?
No. I'm older than 25. I'm younger than 30.
But all of these poems came. Was the age 25 a literal thing, or was it kind of more of a metaphorical thing?
Both.
Okay.
So I think the last poem was during the age of 25. It was definitely before 26. But it was more metaphorical because, when you turn 25
like
and you're quarter century, it's a little
milestone.
different.
Yeah.
So just the title.
Where's he turn 30?
I'm excited. I'm so excited.
Should be.
Yeah, no, I can't wait. I always tell people that like I'm going to be the fly grandma. I don't know if I'm gonna have locks or if I'm gonna have a fro, but it's going to be gray with wisdom, and like I'm just gonna be lit. I welcome the aging process.
You should, especially women. Mature faster, maturing. That's a whole other subject, another time. But yeah, you should be excited for. You should definitely be excited for it.
I am, yes. So also with 25 and being a milestone, there's a certain type of youth that you have going up to 25. Like, 25, 26, 27, you still baby to a lot of people.
Indeed.
Yes. But, you're older than 25, which means you have a certain type of
experience.
Yeah. That you kind of, it's that foundation of being set in your ways.
Yes.
So I thought that period is very,
important.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
So funny enough, I was working at a restaurant, over in Fairfield. Shout out to Chip's Family Restaurant. So I met a lot of people there that supported me, just me, in addition to my art.
Oh, indeed.
You know,
indeed.
so
That's always great. That's always great.
Yeah, so back in I started working there in 2019, and I met a lot of people that were just like, wow, you're a poet, oh, you do all this, da, 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 da. I was like, yeah, actually I do. And then you know, I had so many pieces ready to go for the book that you know, I moved up to Bridgeport in May, and then you know, I had a couple of housemates, but I was saving up for my own place that I moved into in August.
Hey.
So like, here we are. I got my own place. I have my own car. I have my ideas. I have my experience.
Right.
Let's do it. So this book, actually, like the majority of the work after its first conception was put together in those months that I had moved out and I was like living with myself. So I want to say from when I moved into I moved in August, and by November I had the first by October I had the first demo. So I found I did a lot of research on YouTube and articles, and you know, I just wanted to see what books would look like and how people would describe them as different from other printers. So I found this place that would do my size, that wouldn't break the bank, and that had very nice reviews just in regards to customer service, but also obviously the product.
Presentation, absolutely.
Right. So I went and I ordered my first demo. I caught some more mistakes and ordered another demo.
Part of the process.
Ordered another demo, and these demos, because they're, you know, they're custom size and everything, they take time. So I want to say I had the demo process probably took about 3-4 weeks or something like that, and then I ordered my first batch of books. So funny thing is that right before I had moved in to my apartment, I went to this open mic in White Plains, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think her name is Soli, I can't remember, but Camilla had saw me on social media and had invited me to perform, and this was the second time. So yeah, I went up, I did my thing, and then another artist went up, and he was a producer. So, you know, he got up there and he was just playing his beats, and he was like, yeah, you know, I'm open to collaboration. I do X, Y, Z, A, B, C, and audiobooks. I'm like,
hey, audiobooks.
I, sir, actually just recorded an audiobook. So, yeah. Because, like, you know, I'm surveying my friends, because I knew when it comes with a book, it can't just be one way. You need to make as many forms of media as possible.
Indeed.
So I already knew I was going to do an audiobook, but I recorded everything a cappella, and it wasn't completely hidden. So hitting. So when I linked up with C. Wanda, who also graduated from Woodlands, shout out to C. Wanda, he's out here with like a whole category of scores.
Just waiting.
You know?
Waiting for somebody to.
So I was just like, oh, okay, that's awesome. You know, so we met up at the library. I was like, listen, this is what I have in mind. He's like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. I'm gonna write it in my notes. A couple of weeks later, he sends me the sample, and I'm just like, what? You know what I mean? So we're going back and forth like over the phone. He was like, honestly, I think we just need to do this in person and have our sessions like that. First session, it was great. You know, and after like a few months of that, you know, so it was basically, okay, cool, show it to my studio. What do you want? Okay, I want X, Y, and Z. So we make X, Y, and Z happen. And like, he studied like music engineering, so like he could tell me how like some of the measures are supposed to be more so, like he knows more of those literal things. I know what sounds good to me. So the two of us working on the entire audiobook was another like awesome collaborative effort.
Mm-hmm.
So by this time, I have, an artist that I met at open mic, an artist that a few artists that I've had in my life in friendships and everything. And there was another open mic that I had gone to at the University of Bridgeport. And this artist, shout out to Ethan, was like, oh, I really like art, but, artists don't really get paid until they're dead. I was like, no. Yeah. Actually, listen, come here. Would you like to do something for my book? Mm-hmm. So, Ethan, I think they're still in college, but they did this amazing watercolor right here. And I'm really I'm very proud of them because they, this is one of the favorite illustrations in the book. And to think that it came from an artist that wasn't really expecting it, but it was one of those right time, right place type of thing. And so it was great. Also, Sir Stokes, a very influential person, very, very close to my heart, did some more illustrations in the book as well. And it was, after a while, I saw everyone that kind of came and believed in me and handed in this amazing work that, I'm just like, all right, cool, here we go. So, the demos are approved. I'm waiting on my initial batch of books. And I had another buddy that used to work with me at this restaurant, and he's a film director. So in 2014, he wrote me in his first feature film. And he said, all right, listen, thank you so much for showing up. I owe you one. Whenever you want to do something with your poetry. I said, okay, cool. So about 5 years after that first film, I was like, Jeff, listen, I'm ready. I'm ready. So shout out to Jeff Rummis with the Video Business Media. And we filmed my EP.
Hey.
So I took some poems from that initial one in we actually released it in 2015 when I recorded in 2014, and I brought in some more poetry, and I showed him my video treatment. I spelled it out as a producer would in regards to what I need for the shoot, the visions for the shoot, everything that you could imagine. Ultimately when you're doing shows, that would be considered the show Bible. When you have those visual examples in addition to those written summaries and explanations. So again, a lot of people that came and believed in me and supported me, co-workers and friends that I've had along the way, we came out and they acted in my EP, and then Jeff and I, he gave me an edit, and I it was cool, and then I responded to him with a few more notes, and then he responded with another edit, and then he was like, actually, see, do you just want to get the raw footage? I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I took that home and taught myself how to edit, and then sent it back to him, and he was like, oh, you're an editor now. I'm like, wow.
Oh, that's how you do it. You want something done, you don't feel like waiting for nobody else. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to figure it out myself.
Yeah. Well, in addition to that, because Jeff, he really held it down. Even down to the equipment that he brought to work. But he's also a father of 2 little kids.
Okay.
So being a husband, being a father, being a full-time worker, also having other projects, there's obviously a lot going on. But I'm the type of hands-on type of artist where I want to know how to work it. And as I mentioned before, I love film, and cinematography was always pretty cool to me. So me learning how to edit was just something that was
natural, bound
to happen.
For the field that you initially wanted to go into. So Nice. That's wonderful. All these moving parts that seem so separate, everything. And everything came and worked out for the universe of under 25. So you've been penning this much like an album, much like an artist debut EP album. This is the culmination of essentially your life until then. Even if it's only from 18 to 25, that was your life from then. So from there, you're not being 25 anymore. What is what are, so it's under 25. What, can you give me your three, I like three.
Okay.
Can you give me your 3 top poems from under 25? And I'm gonna be specific about this, and that's only because it's written in 3 different parts.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me your favorite poem from when you first started it? Can you give me a favorite poem from when you moved to Connecticut? And can you give me one of your favorite poems when you were at the tail end, you had the visions, you've seen what it was gonna look like in your mind's eye, you've seen it physically? If you can give me 3. So one from the beginning, basically one from the beginning, one from the middle, and one towards the tail end, because from the narrative you told, those are essentially 3 different people.
Yeah.
That are in the same book.
Yeah. So this one poem that I will say. So fun fact. Haikus.
Shout out to all I see the artwork in there. Shout out to all the artists that worked on there. Yes.
Absolutely. So in part 2, which is also called Revolve, there is a haiku. Fun fact about haiku: traditionally, they're supposed to be about the weather. Traditionally. I didn't know that when I wrote I wrote the book. Yeah. But I do know that some people look at only the syllable count, which is what I was looking at. So there's a poem, there's a haiku in here, I believe it's in the second part, it's called Try, basically. So the first line is, you were made to soar. Now get your ass out of bed and pursue your dreams. So that one I like it. It's a little mantra, So another one from the first part, I would probably say is the poem that I dedicated to my cousin Barbara. So that is, it's a little bit longer, but for the most part, it's just it's my memorial to her, to show that she climbed mountains, she reaped what she sowed in regards to all that she put out and got back. And I developed it right before her memorial service, and her son had let me read it in front of everybody else when family was going up and talking about her. So that's definitely one of my favorites, also because my sister drew for it. So her mom was another poet in the family, and her mom's sister illustrated for her book.
Wow.
So that's another reason why I would say that's one of my favorite poems, Barbara, in the first part. And then in the last part, and Dignify. It's a little hard to check out some favorites sometimes.
Well,
I'm definitely going to give you an answer.
No, I can't. No, because as an artist, I can realize that can be, because they're coming from different. They're favorites for different reasons. So let me.
I think my third part, my favorite is probably the poem Wanted. So Wanted is a matter of the type of love that I want. And it was a bit of a response poem to an artist that I saw on YouTube, and I had to take that time and really think about, like, what do I want to manifest? What have I learned about myself in all of these years of rebuilding? And what would I regard as genuine? So I wrote that poem, and that is actually in the EP as well. Wanted.
What is your favorite poem to perform or to just read out loud?
Beastly Beauty.
Why is Beastly Beauty?
Beastly Beauty is from the perspective of a stalker. So that's why I love it. So Beastly Beauty is it came up when I was walking from I believe I was walking from my cousin's apartment to like the bus or something like that. But I love the clicks of heels. Like, I don't know why, but I think it's so cool. So I love wearing heels. I was trotting down the street, clicking away and everything like that. But at this point, it was dark. And my mom had always been one of those women that's just like, do not be outside by yourself as a young lady in the dark, you know. And I was just like, damn, you know, I'm rushing to this bus, but not trying to be like, like too hot with it or whatever like that. So, like I got my brisk walk, I got my New York walk, and like, yeah. So all I heard were the clicks of my heels. And I was like, this is really weird because it's like really quiet. And I got to the bus, I got home safe, and everything like that. But I just kept on thinking about like, what if someone was watching me and just listening to those clicks? And then that first line came, echoing in the hollows of his conscience are the clicks of her heels, racing across his mind in search for home. And then, that kind of just like built on it, and I kind of play with like the using he versus hims, but doing it correctly, and everything like that. And so basically it's just like, kind of going off of Wanted, which is actually how it's put in the EP, how you can manifest something, but that doesn't mean that you're not toxic for somebody else.
It's true.
So I like that poem because not a lot of people expect it. They see me and you might expect like love or politics or I have a lot with those two. But when it comes to just that whole like from the perspective of someone just kind of like curtain in the back.
Yeah, it's different. That's different. I love it. I appreciate that. So as we start to wind down, if there was any time in history that you could travel to, where would you go to?
All right. If I had to travel in history, I feel like it would have something to do with my family lineage.
Okay.
So, as I mentioned, my mom's parents are from Cuba and Panama. But further down the line, we have some Jamaican ancestry.
Okay.
And they also met in Jamaica. So, you know what? I feel like I would go back in history to meet like one of like the earliest people from like my maternal grandmother's like lineage. Like, I'm not really sure where her grandparents came from, but I would like to know, as far back that traces to Africa. And I would just kind of like I would just love to know and see what faces were recycled, like what personalities and habits were recycled, because like I'm one of 3 girls, and we look just like our mom, who looks just like her mom, and all 4 of us just kind of like we always looked up at our grandmother as this just beautiful and loving and gentle soul, as do like a lot of people look up to their grandmothers.
Indeed, yeah.
So it would definitely be just kind of like tracing back her lineage, because she was the only child, and I know of some of her cousins through my mom, but we haven't really fostered that relationship just yet.
Yeah.
Where would you go?
That's not so if there was anybody that you can read a poem to, if you can read, well, specifically not a poem, if there was anybody that you can sit down, and I like food, so if there's anybody that you can sit down and have dinner with and read over your poem to, it could be a family member, it could be anybody from history, past, present, or future, who would that be?
My grandfather.
Your grandfather?
Yeah, my grandmother's husband. Because so shortly before he died, I read him one of my poems. And it was an ode to men. It's entitled "Thank You," and he got his degree in English, so he has a lot to say that he would like to discuss. And one of his values that he would consider in our family legacy is continued education. So when I read him that poem, he was elated. So he didn't get a chance to see this, and we both love to eat. So if I can sit down and have dinner and express some poetry, it will be with him.
Besides the poem that you dedicated to Barbara, what is one poem in here that you would love to read to her?
It would be the trilogy that I have. It's entitled Beginning, Middle, and End. And the poem, that first line with like the paint in the hands, it is actually part of the end. And then I wrote beginning, and then I needed a segue, so I wrote middle. And just based on the imagery behind it, because she has novels, you know, that she published, Barbara Summers. So I think that she would appreciate the intimacy in that poem, just in regards to what you feel within yourself and your mind and your heart and your soul, and you sharing that feeling with somebody else and connecting that, and it's electric. And I think that because I was able to encapsulate that in poetry, I think she would really appreciate that.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
If there is something at the age that you are now, if there is something that you can go back and tell 25-year-old Charese at her lowest rock bottom part, what would you tell her in less than 10 words?
Talk to yourself in the mirror. Be happy.
There you go.
I mean, you said less than 10 words, but I would 10 or less.
Yeah, it's alright.
It's like an express sign in the grocery store, it's 12 or less. So we're showing up with 12.
Showing up with 12. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Ain't nothing wrong with it. So, I am very excited to read this.
I'm excited to read it too.
Yeah, a lot of different elements in this. So there's a lot of interesting stories from knowing you, hearing about the woman that you've grown to be, seeing the woman that you're becoming. It's wonderful. I'm very excited to dig into Under 25. Charese, please tell the people where they can find you at, your information, social media, please.
Yeah. So if you search Charese Annel, ChareseAnnel, on any platform.
It only works when you do the bounce.
Only. You gotta do a bounce with it, you know? But you can search me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm not really active on Twitter, but I think I have an account. Yeah, Apple Music, Tidal, like all
it's
Google
under 20,
Play.
It's will be under your name or under 25?
Yeah, no. So you find my name, and then you can hear on the music part 3. All of what myself and C Wanda had produced. You're going to find the whole part 3 on the streaming platforms. Can hit me up on social media. I also have a website entitled poetbynature.com, in which you can see a little bit more of my work. You can order a book and then connect.
Nice, indeed. Poetbynature.com. That is
Absolutely.
wonderful. So I guess we can do a part 2, and then for the part 2, I will have had listened to the EP. I will have had read the books. I will have picked out the ones that I really liked, and we can go in depth and discuss it. That's
Absolutely.
wonderful.
And you have a treat, because no one has really asked me about, as you did in depth, like a lot of the inspirations for some of these poems. So now that you have the context and you can sit and you can read it, you have more of like that visual.
Have the scope.
You're in for a treat.
Yes. I have the lens. I'm gonna have your lens for a little bit. So, Charese, thank you. I appreciate
My
it.
pleasure.
You drove all the way down here for this interview. I appreciate it.
No doubt.
I very much look forward into digging into your poetry book, listening to your EP. We're definitely gonna do a part 2. Thank you for coming on to the Richie Moon Show. Is there anything else that you would like to see to people before we ride into the sunset?
Yeah, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. There's everyone outside has other opinions on you, but only you can really believe in yourself the way no one can. So all you need to do is believe in yourself. Start there and just keep on going.
Indeed. As I said in the beginning, the Richie Moon Show was about entertainment, education, and entertainment combined. High-level conversations and observations are the new normal. We just seen a pristine example of that.
Thank you.
So with that, of course, with that being said, I am Mr. Richie Moon.
I am Charese Annel.
It has been the Richie Moon Show, and we will catch you down the road. Tap it,
Toledo's.
Oh, that was wonderful.
I love it.